time, which is going on right now, they will start to turn jet black. And that coloration lets all of the other animals around them know that they're feeding this exhibit that I like to talk about. And perfect timing, we have one of our cartilaginous fish hanging out right on this right at the top here. Oh, it looks like she might be trying to go after this little snack. Almost. There we go. Great job.
1, 2, 3.
Aloha, kako. Hello, everyone. My name is Sarah. I am a marine naturalist here at the Maui Ocean Center. This is our open ocean presentation. Now, before I seawater, and it is real seawater in this exhibit, as well as all of the exhibits we have here at the aquarium. We are lucky enough to be on an open water system. That means that all of the water is being pumped in directly from Maui Bay. It's going to be the same temperature, pH, and salinity as the water in our oceans. All we're doing to it is we are simply filtering it as it comes into the facility, and then we are filtering it again as it goes back out. Each day, we are cycling about 1.2 million gallons of seawater through our exhibits here. Now, the first spot that it enters into this one behind me is going to be this top corner here. That's why you see some animals showing a particular interest in that animal, or in that area. It's basically like they're standing in front of an AC vent on a hot day. It's the freshest, newest water entering the facility. Definitely makes sense for these animals to pay particular attention to it. Now, it is also creating an incredibly strong current, and it just goes to show how strong some of these animals truly are. They are making it look easy swimming in that top corner over there, but if I were to hop into this exhibit, hang out over there, I would be jet propelled like all the way over to the center here. So they're definitely displaying their strength. Now, for some size perspective, each of these panels behind me is about 10 feet across. So 20 feet across total, and all the animals you are seeing are actual size. This glass does not distort your perspective at all. So when they swim really, really close to the glass, like some of these animals are over here, you can use that to gauge how large some of them truly are. Now, in contrast, over here in the tunnel, everything appears about 1/3 smaller than it is in real life due to the curvature of that acrylic. So if any of the rays are swimming over you, just know they're even larger than they look. All right, now on to the animals. I mentioned these fish hanging out in the top right-hand corner, and these guys are known as giant trevally or ulua. These big, grumpy-looking football-shaped fish. Now, these animals are between 100 and 130 pounds, but the largest one ever caught here on Maui was 191 pounds. It's bigger than the fishermen that reeled it in. These guys are very popular for sport fishing here in the islands as well. That's because they're big, they're strong, they're muscular, they put up a very good fight, and they're also pretty tasty too. So definitely very popular for fishing. Any of those tall fishing poles you might see along our coastlines, typically the ulua are a target species. Now here in this exhibit, they're a little bit like the bullies in here. I've actually seen them take food directly out of the mouths of some of our sharks before. They are not to be messed with. Now, most of the time, these animals are going to be kind of light silver in coloration with some striations on there too. But if they ever get excited about something like feeding time, which is going on right now, they will start to turn jet black. And that coloration lets all of the other animals around them know that they're feeling particularly grumpy and definitely should not be messed with at that time. All right, now in addition to these ulua, we also have some gentle giants in this exhibit that you're seeing, also pretty interested in this feeding. We have these slender silverfish hanging out, going after some of those snacks. These animals are known as ava, or milkfish. Now these guys are the gentle giants, and that's because most of the time they are filter feeders. They spend a lot of time near the surface of the water with their mouths wide open, almost looking like they're gasping for air. But they're not gasping for air up there at the surface. What they're doing is utilizing that surface tension and going after any sort of proteins or particulates or other small food items in that area of the ocean. Now, because these animals spend so much time at the surface of the water, they are pretty frequently mistaken for sharks because their dorsal fin pokes on out of the ocean. But like I said, they're gentle giants, can't do any damage to you without any teeth. Most they can do is nibble on some fingers or some toes. All right, now those are the bony fish in this exhibit that I like to talk about. And perfect timing, we have one of our cartilaginous fish hanging out right on the right at the top here. Oh, looks like she might be trying to go after this little snack. Almost. There we go, great job. So, do we think this is a stingray or a manta ray? Raise your hand if you think she is a stingray. Raise your hand if you think she's a manta ray. Raise your hand if you have no idea.
No idea.
All right. If you guys said stingray, you would be correct. She is a Hawaiian broad stingray. Now, she is the larger of the two stingrays in this exhibit. The smaller one is the male. This is pretty common for cartilaginous fish. The females tend to get a bit larger, and that's because they're the ones that have to carry the babies, need a little bit more size on them for that job. Now, there are some ways you can quickly tell the difference between stingrays and manta rays. First thing to look for is the presence of a barb. Stingrays have them and manta rays do not. You can find that barb about a third of the way down their tail, sitting right on top. Looks a little bit like a pencil. A lot of people think that this stinging barb would be at the end of their tail, almost like a scorpion, but because its only purpose is to be used as a last resort defense mechanism, they want it closer to the rest of their body so that they can protect those vital organs. So for our stingrays, where you see the white underside of their body end and it turns to more of a dark gray color, that's going to be where you find the barb on top of their tail. Now, if they were to use this barb, it would break off, and it would take up to 6 to 10 months for it to regrow. In the meantime, that stingray would be defenseless, which is why they only want to use it as a last resort. Another way to tell the difference between stingrays and manta rays is to look for the location of their mouth. When our female stingray swam up against the top here, you saw that her mouth was on the underside of her body. And most of the time, she's going to be looking for food in the sand. These animals are benthic or bottom feeders. Whereas manta rays are pelagic or open ocean feeders, so their mouth is going to be in the front of their body. They're looking for food in front of them in the water column. Last way to tell the difference between the two is by looking at the way that they swim. Stingrays sort of undulate on the water column. They wiggle like this, those side fins, side parts of their body. Whereas manta rays, they flap a little bit more like a bird would. They take these big flaps up and down when they're swimming through the water. So easy way to tell the difference between them if you see them from a distance. All right, so there's another cartilaginous fish in this exhibit that is pretty closely related to our stingrays. Cartilaginous fish, their skeletons are made of cartilage rather than bone. And that means that they're a lot lighter, a lot more hydrodynamic, and a lot more flexible. This is the same material as your ears and the tip of your nose, and so it makes for a very efficient skeleton for them to use when they need to swim a lot. Anybody know what cartilaginous fish I might be talking about right now? Yes, you got it, the sharks. We have 5 different species of sharks displayed in our open ocean exhibit, and I'll point them out as they swim past here. Starting with this sandbar shark swimming away from me right now. These guys are some of my absolute favorites. They have that super tall triangular dorsal fin, that sandy color across their whole body. Swimming right here is a gray reef shark. They've got that charcoal black margin on all of their fins, except for that top dorsal fin. Got another one right here. And we also have some white-tip reef sharks in this exhibit as well. You don't always see the white tips swimming around. They are the only species of shark found here in the Hawaiian Islands that has the ability to rest on the ocean floor. All other sharks found in this part of the world need to keep swimming in order to keep water moving past their gills so that they can breathe. But the white-tip reef shark has a special method of breathing. They utilize a bugle pump that allows them to pump water through their body while remaining at rest. Works very similarly to the human diaphragm. Now, closely related to those white-tip reef sharks, they look very, very similar, are going to be those black-tip reef sharks. We've got one swimming away from us right now. Got that inky black tip on that dorsal fin. And I think that is all the sharks with one exception. Anybody know who I'm forgetting? Yes, the tiger shark. We do have one juvenile female tiger shark on display in this exhibit at the moment. You might have seen her swimming by earlier, and you might have noticed that she's looking a little bit more spotted than striped. That is because she is on the younger side. When these sharks are first born, oh, did you see that? Yeah. Got a piece of fish hanging out of his mouth. All right, back to our tiger shark. So she's more spotted than striped because she's on the younger side. When these animals are first born, they're born with polka dots. And over time, as they grow older and larger, those spots are going to extend into stripes, almost like nature's perfect stretch marks. Now, right now, she's about 7 feet long, but fully grown tiger sharks can get to around 14 feet long on average, with the largest one ever recorded being about 18 feet long. There she is now. So if she was an 18-foot long tiger shark, her body would start here and go all the way to about over here. So absolutely massive animals that these guys can become. Very, very impressive, these sizes that they are able to grow. Now, we are not going to be keeping her here at the Open Ocean exhibit until she reaches that size. She will be released much, much sooner. And while part of that is that size constraint, the even more important aspect of it is for cultural significance here in the Hawaiian Islands. Tiger sharks, as well as many other species here in the Hawaiian Islands, can serve as aumakua. For anyone who has not heard that term before, an aumakua is a Hawaiian ancestral deity or god that acts like a reincarnation of your ancestors. They keep watch on future generations of the family, and only those with a lot of mana, or spiritual power, become reincarnated as an aumakua. And for different families, those can present themselves as very different species. So for some, it could be a shark, and for others, it could even be a particular plant, or even a particular pohaku or rock. So it just depends on the family what their ancestral history is. For our cultural advisor here at Maui Ocean Center, his aumakua is the tiger shark. So he has the special opportunity to bless any tiger shark that we bring into our facility, give them a blessing as they return to the wild, and he also has an opportunity to name them. Our tiger shark's name is Kanaio, which is the Hawaiian word for unique or different. And she is definitely a very beautiful and very unique individual. He picks those names after seeing them swim around in here for a little while, gets to know their personality before giving them that name. Now, in addition to that cultural significance, sharks here in the Hawaiian Islands also have a lot of ecological significance. Anyone here surprised that our sharks are eating any of their tank mates right now? What about surprised that they weren't the first ones to the food, going after every single bite and shoving all the fish away from it? Is anyone expecting a little bit more of a feeding frenzy than we saw? Yes. Yeah, a little bit? Yeah, so sharks can be fairly lazy predators. Rather than eating every single thing that swims past them, they have a much stronger preference for things that are sick, compromised, or already dead. Because many of these animals spend their entire lives swimming around, their main goal is to conserve energy. They have very slow metabolisms, and many shark species only need to eat 1 to 3 times a week. Larger shark species sometimes only eat once or twice a month. And there are even species of sharks found in deeper parts of the ocean that only eat about once a year. Sharks have this preference for things that are compromised or diseased so that they can save energy and eat the easiest things in the ocean. And this is going to be the best thing for our oceans as well. They're eating those diseased animals before they have a chance to infect others. They're going after things that are compromised, making sure that only the healthiest of individuals are the ones surviving and creating the next generations. And they're eating all of that gross dead stuff that would otherwise wash up on our beaches or cloud up our waters. So even though sharks can be a little bit intimidating or scary, hopefully learning more about them can turn some of that fear and intimidation many people have into more of a healthy respect and admiration for everything that these animals are doing for us in our oceans. All right, folks, mahalo nui loa for listening today. Does anybody have any questions?
Where do you get your specimens?
Where do we get our specimens? So it varies a little bit. We do have a special activities permit that allows us to bring in animals from our surrounding coastlines, but some of our animals are born here at the Maui Ocean Center. We don't purposefully breed any of our sharks, but we do have males and females in here, and sometimes we do see some shark breeding, even if we're not expecting it, something we're always happy to see.
Do the stingrays ever sting something?
Do the stingrays ever sting things? No, they do not, or at least they never have here while under our care here at the Ocean Center. They only use that barb as a last resort, and we never want our animals to feel threatened in that way, so they would never really have a need to use that barb.
So you mentioned releasing the tiger shark. Are other species in the tank also rotated and released?
Yes, so it's a bit of a case-by-case policy, kind of depends on the individual animal. Some of our ulua in this exhibit, so the really big football-shaped fish, they've been with us since they were little papio, little juveniles, about this big. So we've been raising them here for about 20 or so years. If we were to release those guys, we might see them get fished out of the water pretty quickly due to that size. So what we do instead with animals like the ulua is we release their babies. We do see a lot of spawning in this exhibit from these big fish, and so we're able to collect those juveniles, raise them to a certain size, and release those guys to the wild. Case-by-case policies with our stingrays and our sharks as well. Kind of depends on how well the individual's doing, what their size will eventually get to, things like that. All right, folks, I am going to hop off the microphone here. Thank you all so much for listening today. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day here at Maui Ocean Center. Ahui ho.